Welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. I'm your teacher, Mr. Stanley Ombogo. This is a continuation of Fathers of Nation analysis. We have looked at uh, uh, a number of areas that is beginning with the chapter summaries to character and characterization, to thematic concerns, and now we are going to look at language and style. That is the language and style that Paul B. Vita employed in his literary work. Dear students, these are some of the major styles and stylistic devices that we are going to come across. So before I mention them, let me just help you understand what styles are. Styles, we have got stylistic devices. That is a general name. Stylistic devices is further categorized into two. So we have got use of figurative language, and we have what is called the sound patterns. So it is important to take note of that. So stylistic devices, that is just a general name, but under it, that's where we have the use of figurative language and the sound patterns. Yeah. So so some of the styles that we have in Fathers of Nations, dear students, is number one, dialogue. So I'm just going to mention them before we start looking at each. We have got dialogue, that is very common in the novel. Then we have rhetorical questions, we have flashback, we have vivid description, we have a story within a story, irony, contrast, we have humor, we have use of borrowed language, sarcasm, uh, imagery. So in imagery, we have similes, we have metaphors, personification. Then the next style, we have symbolism. And lastly, lastly, we have ideophones. We have ideophones. So beginning with the first style, that is dialogue. So dear students, dialogue is the most dominant style in Fathers of Nation. So uh, the first thing, what is a dialogue? What is a dialogue? Before talking about it as one of the styles that Paul Bivit has used in his literary work. So it is a direct conversation between two or more characters, a conversation between two different groups of people, or we can talk about two parties, or a conversation between an individual and a certain group of people in the text. So dialogue is simply, you know, a conversation that is in between two people, or a person and a group of people, or two groups of people, and so on. So it is mainly used to activate and dramatize several conflicts that is seen in the text. So, sorry, there is a dialogue now in Fathers of Nations. There is dialogue between the guide, that is Mr. Or Dr. Abiola Afolabi, and the four strangers who check in at the Seamount Hotel in Banjul. So remember there are Professor Kimani, Pastor Chiamaka, Comrade Melusi, and Tahir as he gives them the directives from the uh, AGDA, that is Agency Governance and Development in Africa. The page numbers are there on the screen. So there's a dialogue between the journalist Miss Mackenzie and the guy Dr. Afolabi, whereby Miss Mackenzie calls Dr. Afolabi for the interview. Again, a dialogue happens between Tuni and her dad, Professor Kimani. In it, he tells her about the MPs, that is the member of parliament salaries, and he also talks about the salaries that professors earn or lecturers earn at the university. So again, as he and her husband, Professor Kimani, have a dialogue, she tells him of the resolution to marry newborn Walomu. So, dear students, dialogue, just like we said, it is the most dominant style. It is almost in every page. So, I'm just going to go through them really quick because there are things that you just see in the text by yourself after, especially after understanding what a dialogue is. So again, there's a dialogue between the MP Walomo and Professor Kimani when Kimani confronts him, sorry, about marrying his wife, uh-huh, Asia Omondi. Again, Mr. Tad Longway and Professor Kimani engage in dialogue as Tad tries to convince Professor Kimani to join AGDA. Again, dialogue happens among Leo, Fiona, and Dr. Afolabi. Whereby in this dialogue, Dr. Afolabi rescues Fiona and takes her to his room at the Simon Hotel. So a dialogue ensues between Tad Longway and Dr. Afolabi about his address at the Foundation for the Democratic Role, when Longway has come to talk to him about acting as a guide to Path Alpha. Then there is a dialogue involving Isa, Pamela, and Dr. Afolabi about his new wife from the village. Not really his new wife, but the lady that Femi, or rather the Abiola's family organized for Dr. Afolabi, since Pamela uh, couldn't, give birth to children of her own. So, Comrade Melusi and Tad Longway also engage in a dialogue in which Melusi tells Longway how he fought for freedom in Zimbabwe. So Longway has come to convince Melusi to join AGDA. So there's also a dialogue between Tad and Chiamaka, Tad also and Saif Tahir. We also have a dialogue between Fiona and Tad again via phone call, and later on they meet physically, face to face. Tad is also in, I think we've mentioned the dialogue between Tad and Engineer Sahir. So Fiona and Tad, we've also mentioned that. So I'm not going to repeat because they are like everywhere. So I'm not going to repeat the characters that I've mentioned with those that they are in a conversation with. So on to the next. Let us look at the next style, dear student. That is rhetorical questions. The use of rhetorical questions. So first things first, what are rhetorical questions? So these are questions asked to make a point or create a dramatic effect. So rhetorical questions do not need responses. They are just there to do what? To make a point clear. Or maybe in most cases you can use them even when seeking clarity. When seeking clarity. So in text, they also create a dramatic effect. So they require no responses. So they I've just talked about that. So they do not require answers since they are used to persuade or to pose. So we have got number of times in which Paul B. Vita uses this style. First is in page 5, where so there's a question that is asked 1 minute, 5 minutes. Where is the difference? So I think this was either it was a monologue. Then again on page 10, there's also all looked happy and why not? So page 63, 75, 78, 87, 103, and again, all those others that you are able to see. Dear students, so you can take note of the page numbers so that you go look the characters who are saying or who are asking those questions. So if we move to the next slide, on page 117, we still have rhetorical questions being used, page 120, page 150, 173, 182. So, dear students, you know what rhetorical questions are. You have the page numbers on the slides. Kindly go and look at the characters who are involved in some of the illustrations that you have on the screen. So the next style is a flashback. So flashback is a technique in which the author uses a scene from a time before the main story to connect with the events of the main story. So to make it simpler, flashback is simply when the writer or the author uh, takes us back to some of the past events, some of the characters' past events or past experiences. So they use them to ensure that there is that flow. There is the flow. So if it is a narrative, there is the flow in narration. If it is a text or a story, there is that connection that is I mean, there is that connection of the present day events that they are tied to. So they are used to help us understand better the present day elements and learn more about the characters. So flashback is also used to reveal the emotional struggles of the characters in the text, as well as the insights of the characters' actions. So there is the use of flashback in chapter 2 about the life of Professor Kimani, his education journey, how he married Asia, how he lost his only daughter Tuni to a road accident, and how his marriage fell apart. That is after Asia calling it a quit. Through it, we also learn how he fought with an MP, that is Newborn Walomo, landing him behind bars. This clearly tells us why he's where he is now. That is now a Path Alpha advocate. Uh-huh. So seeking justice and fighting for a change. So there is also the use of flashback in the conversation between Comrade Melusi and Tad Longway, where Comrade Melusi talks about him and their leader fighting Smith. So Smith was a white. So, Comrade Melusi, alongside their leader, fought to uh, ensure that they get rid of the white man in search of independence. And through this, we realize the origin of his name, Comrade. So he was given the name Comrade because he was at the forefront when they were fighting for their independence. So we also get to learn through flashbacks how Comrade Melusi lost his wife Zeliza during the Gukurahundi, sorry, which erupted due to the anti-government unrest in southern Zimbabwe. Remember, it was about the tribal clashes, the government favoring, people from their what, their ethnic groups and so on. So there is also use of flashback in chapter 8, which tells us clearly how Pastor Chineke Chiamaka started preaching back then. That is how Pastor Chineke Chiamaka got into religion. Remember, we are told about the reckless driver, how he recklessly drove his vehicle. So one day he got hit with a fighter machine, engine, sorry, and he miraculously survived. So that is where he started, preaching. So again, it is through a flashback that we know how he developed his preaching career. Remember, he never attended any seminar, and how he lost it and landed behind bars. So he preached everywhere, indoors, in the streets, private houses, or in the limited publicity of a church. So the flashback also takes us back when he had a church of his own with a welcoming bulletin in the church entrance reading God is watching you. So it was a wonderful sermon, dear students, before he gave the second sermon that led him to where he is right now. So again, the educational ability of Engineer Saif Tahir has been brought out in the text through a flashback. He had returned from abroad during the leader's 20th year in power, and he described how he had supported him and even joined the feast of Allah until Al Qaeda struck and changed his mind. So we get to know the stories of these four, the four Path Alpha advocates. We get to know their stories and their background information based on flashback that has been used. Dear students, so flashback is also used by the author to tell us how Engineer Tahir lost his eye when he was, that is, when he was served revenge by one Rahma Mahmood, with whom he had fallen in love, yet she did not respond to his expectation. So leading to endless vengeance between them and finally costing both of them their eyes. So again, through flashback, we learn that Dr. Afolabi and his wife Pamela do not have children of their own. So these are clearly brought out again in chapter 5, where we learn how Femi, that is Dr. Afolabi's cousin, was sent to bring a second wife to Dr. Afolabi since he and Pamela did not have children. So it ended badly because Pamela filed for a divorce. Uh-huh. So the next style, students, is vivid description. So it is a technique for giving the audience a very detailed and clear mental image of an event, character, or a situation in the text. So that is what vivid description is. So it is again used to appeal to the senses of the audience and therefore makes them feel as if they are exactly at the spot where the author is describing. So when the author uses words vividly to describe a particular event, it makes the readers feel like they are there. They are there at the moment, or maybe they were there when uh, the when the events occurred. So there are a number of times that vivid description has been used. The first one, she was wearing a scarlet a scarlet blouse, a black skirt, and red heels. So uh, that is describing Fiona's what appearance, the clothes she wore. Then again, Tuni's eyes being described, and again. That is, she had her mother's eyes and the wings of an imported butterfly, pure black in the middle and pure white at the margins. So a vivid description is full of adjectives. They are full of adjectives describing words. So they describe events and character or situation by giving full and complete details. So in the last two uh, paragraphs, we also have Sia's behavior being described when she wanted to leave Professor Kimani. Then again, when it was near enough, now there's Professor Kimani and MP Newborn Walomu. When he was near enough, he swung a fist, he missed. Now that was describing the fight or the scuffle that ensued in MP Walomu's office. So on to the next slide, dear students, still full of descriptions, page 58, 59, Fiona's leg, that is the scenario between Miss Mackenzie and Leo, that is at Simon Hotel, before being saved by Dr. Afolabi. So again, the events leading up to an accident and the accident itself have been described on pages 107 and 108. So again, Rama Mahmud's face being described. That is big white teeth and big purple gums. As Rama Mahmud's smiles. So if you look at all the rest, I mean the rest of the slides, the rest of the paragraphs, sorry, in the previous slides, all those are vivid description. Then we have story within a story. So this is where a character within the story becomes the narrator of a second story. It is mainly used to reveal the truth of the inner story. So the story of the donors ganging up on Africa, that is told by Professor Kimani to his only daughter Tuni, is a good example. We have another example is the story of Dr. Afolabi and his wife. Uh-huh. There's also the story Comrade Mulosi, that is about the Gukura Hundi, who led to the loss of his wife Ziliza. We also have that is Saif Tahir tells the story of how he fell in love with Rahma Mahmood. So thank you for watching, dear students, and uh, stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.